Hi Tarot friends, it's Jade here with Tarot Your Truth. My channel is all about documenting my journey with the tarot, which is fairly new, about 6 months at this point. And today I'm here with a video on some additional deck modifications that I made. There are some decks that just recently have come into my collection and I thought I would share. So let's get to it, shall we? I have four decks here. So the first one is the Art History for Past Lives Tarot. And I purchased this deck after watching a, not a tutorial, a walkthrough and a discussion sample reading as well from Lady Knight of Avalon. And there was just something about it I had to have. These are the backs of the cards. The front of the cards, I've done a walkthrough, so I'll just go through this very quickly, but the front of the cards are all existing art. You'll see, and some have time or place locations, but they can be used as a regular tarot deck as well. And the bottom of the cards is what the typical tarot association would be. So the modifications on this was just one. All I did was edge the deck. I chose I was originally going to do a red to match the red flowers, but I decided instead to go with a light pink, and the light pink is essentially to match some of the lighter parts and the edges on those, sorry about the glare, on the flowers. I think it looks awesome. I really enjoy it. It just looks so much more finished now. I could probably go over it again one more time, but I don't think I'm going to. I think it does look better in real life than it does on camera here. But anyway, that's it. That's all I did. And I am working my way through the workbook for this deck. It's been interesting so far. There's a lot going on in that workbook. I did a reading before I started the actual workbook, which I've shown before, so I won't show it again here. I did do one of the readings, and I'm just pulling out my book here. Yeah, so I was just curious. I couldn't wait for the 21 days or whatever the workbook takes you through. So I just did one of the quick readings that comes with the actual book with all the card meanings, so the equivalent of the little white book. And it turns out that I lived in 19th century Hungary, but migrated to America, specifically the United States, also in the 19th century. So it was interesting because 3 out of the 6 cards I'll refer to America in some way or shape or form. And there was a migration card there as well. Anyways, I thought that was quite interesting. It didn't speak about, how I died or anything like that. Just where I was when I lived, and what sort of how other people saw me and how this life is manifesting now. So it was quite an interesting reading, and I'm looking forward to finishing or going through the book. It was a bit challenging. The first couple of exercises of the workbook I did find a little bit challenging. I wasn't quite sure exactly what was meant by some of the deconstruction that's going on. But anyways, I'm hoping by the end of the 21 days we'll get there. Okay, so the second deck that I also did a walkthrough of is my Pagan Otherworld. So anyone who will have this will recognize this little baggie. And just pull it out over here. Okay, so this is the backs. Everyone is familiar. Most people are familiar with this. The fronts are cool. I really love this artwork. I love how it's sort of all these gray blue skies in the background, very vibrant or rich colors. I should say would probably be a better term. It looks kind of antique-y, quite old to me, but I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, so I admire quite a bit of art. Anyway, so all I did with this deck was edge it. I did not cut the borders off, as you could see. And on the backs, if you're not familiar with this, there are four main colors. There's a gold, there's a black, or maybe it's dark blue actually, now that I'm looking at it. And there's little flowers which have light blue petals with a red and off-white center. So what I did was edge it. Oh boy. These cards have a very cool finish. I don't think it's quite, or it is a linen finish, but it's much finer linen finish than what is on my Game of Thrones. They do slide around quite a bit, which I guess is nice. So what I did was edge this deck in a combination of a steely blue gray and a silver. I haven't mixed these up quite well, but I really like it. I started off just with the intention of doing the blue, actually, and I didn't quite like that. I found that with the blue, it was just a little bit too bright for the fronts of the cards, and so I did half and half with the blue and half with the gray. And of course, once you shuffle them all up, that takes care of that. So I do like how they shuffle. Hopefully I'm not knocking two people. Anyways, I really like it. I enjoy it very much. Okay, I'll just put those off to the side for now. And I'll show you what I used to edge these decks as well. Okay, then I made two other decks where the modifications I made was not just to edge it, but actually to trim them as well. So the first one, everyone and their mother has this deck, and I finally caved. I just had this fear of missing out, I guess. What if it goes out of print? I don't think it'll go out of print. It's been around for a very long time. This is what the backs look like. And it is, of course, the Druidcraft Tarot. So these cards were very large. I do have smallish hands. They were originally, actually, right here, I'll do this. The cards in the booklet were the same size. And so you can see how much I've cut off there. And now they are much more manageable. I also edged them in brown. This deck here, I started off using a guillotine, and it just reinforced my previous belief that a guillotine is not the best tool for me to use to trim decks, because I like to be pretty precise, and it doesn't matter how hard you're holding this down. There's still some minute movements that mean you end up cutting the card where you don't want to cut the card. So I didn't like it. And also the other thing was, although I think this was just a function of what I used, but the guillotine that I used, and I didn't cheap out. I bought, you know, not crazy expensive, but I didn't buy the cheapest one, that's for sure. It actually bent the cards a little bit to the very edge of it, and I did not like that. And you can actually see which cards they are when you look at the side, because some of them, well, maybe you can't see that here, but some of them actually look a little bit thicker. Like you can see one here. And you can see actually this one here, it looks like it's a lighter color, but it's not. And I know it's not because I went over them again. We'll have to do just a couple of very small touch-ups. But anyway, so then I just reverted back to scissors. And I found that that worked much, much better. The backs look pretty good. It did have a, well, most people will know this, but it did have a gold, sort of like that border with a little bit of knotwork. That came off, which is fine. But I think they look fabulous now. The artwork just pops. I left the titles on the bottom, at least for now. I may eventually trim those off. We'll see. But for now, I haven't worked with this deck other than just to do a deck interview with it. So I will leave those on for now, but I just find that the artwork just absolutely pops now. Anyway, I won't go through this because everyone has seen this. This deck has been out for a very long time. So that is my Druidcraft Tarot. Not sure if I'll make a wrap for that one or not. And the second deck I trimmed. This deck came into my collection quite some time ago. I had purchased a bundle of decks on Kijiji. It was just some guy who bids on storage lockers. I guess if people don't pay the rent on the storage lockers, then they eventually just sell the goods. So this man did that. I think he purchased a whole 20-foot storage locker for, I don't know, he said something like, I can't remember actually, but it was something ridiculous, maybe $300 or something. It was very cheap, and in it was about $3,000 worth of jewelry and 10 tarot decks. So I bought them. One of them had the Hexen 2.0 deck in it, which I still have. I am looking to sell that. If anyone is interested, please do let me know. But it's a little bit too psychedelic for me. This wrap, it's not really a wrap. It is a kerchief from when we went, we took the kids to a pirate reenactment. And I came across it when I was cleaning up, and I thought, hey, the colors are the same. I think I'm going to use it. Anyway, so this is the Golden Dawn. This is the Golden Dawn by Chick Cicero, I believe. Anyway, this deck was also very large, kind of too large for my hands, and so again, I trimmed it. I was able to, it trimmed great actually. I didn't lose any of the art in the background, not that I'm a huge fan of it, but it is what it is, and I didn't want to chop it up any further. But the fronts of these cards, it sort of came out okay. The cards are, well, you can see there, highly laminated on both sides, you can see, but they feel like cardboard. Like it's not like Pagan Otherworlds or most of my other decks. It does kind of feel cardboardy. They're highly laminated on both sides, as I said. So when I cut them, I'll tell you what happened. When I cut them, so it had an extra whole border that was white with some additional lines on it. I cut those off. I found them pretty ugly. If I knew this deck better, actually, I would actually just cut it down to the art, but I don't. I haven't worked with this deck at all. I was just kind of on a roll, and decided I would do that because otherwise I would never work with it because it was too big for me to shuffle. So what happens with this type of cardstock that's laminated on both sides is that the edges really peel. So when you cut it, you kind of damage it. It sort of unseals the edges of the cards a bit. And so what happened is that we get all this bleed on the cards, which is somewhat annoying. If this was a deck that I really cared about, that would tick me off to no end. But I'm actually I will fix it. I'm going to, I tried it in a couple of cards. I wish I'd pulled them out, but what I did essentially was just actually intentionally draw on the card just a tiny black border that should mask that bleed overflow bead, because then it'll just look like an actual black border. So we'll see how that works out. In any case, like I said, I wasn't terribly heartbroken, just because I hadn't really worked with these cards and it was just an experiment anyways. But it does annoy me though that the laminating on each side has come off, because it does make the edges of the cards look a little bit thicker than they actually are. Let's see if I can find one. Anyways, obviously you can see that I edged it in black. It's hard to see them now now that I've edged them. Anyways, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. There's one. Don't think that's gonna show. I can see it in real life where you could just see that they were peeled off. Anyway, so that's the Golden Dawn. So now it actually, I can hold it comfortably in my hand and shuffle it pretty well. So we'll see. I've not, it's one of the projects that I'll work on at some point, is learning that system. Hopefully, I don't know if anyone has seen this. I'm sure people have seen this art, but it is its own system that both Rider-Waite-Smith and Thoth were based on, except it incorporates the Kabbalah, the astrology, I'll just go through this quickly. Looking at the book a little bit and reading about some of the different symbols. The book that comes with it is I can't reach it right now, but man, it is heavy reading. It is very heavy reading. So I think this is one that I'm going to have to take in small doses. I know that the colors all mean something. I was reading about the Magician this morning. So it is interesting. It will be very interesting just to learn about all the different symbols and whatnot, why they made certain decisions. The keywords, so it does have keywords all on the bottom. You can take them or leave them, I don't know. I know some people really dislike them. This card makes me laugh because, so I read the description for the first time this morning, and previously when I'd looked at this card, it always seemed to me that the baby was inside the wolf's belly. Don't ask me why. I think it had to do with the that line around the baby. I don't know. Anyways, the baby is not inside the wolf's belly. The baby is in front and in fact holding the leash of the wolf. So, and anyway, the yellow flowers mean something, the leash means something. Anyway, I'll have to keep going through this. Okay, I won't go through all of these. If anyone does want a full walkthrough, please let me know and I'd be happy to do that. But that is not what this video was about. So that is it. Those are the 4 decks that I have made some modifications to. I don't know if I can fit them all here. I don't know where my art history tarot just disappeared to. There we go. So that's the 4 that I have for you today. Just thought I would share. If anyone is interested in a full walkthrough of any of these, please do let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. But I think these decks have been out, all of them have been out for quite a while, so it's probably not a worthwhile thing. Oh, I lied. I totally forgot about this deck. This is the, this is the Vacchetta deck. So I bought this deck. I understand that maybe it's out of print, or it's often out of print. Occasionally it may come back. But it wasn't available. It was available on Amazon for, I don't know, $130 or something. I wasn't willing to pay that much, but I did find it for a very reasonable price on Book Depository. So I did purchase it because I do like the artwork. However, what I thought I was purchasing is slightly different than what I actually ended up purchasing. The backs were changed. It used to be just the Magician. So this is the Magician. The Magician was just one full figure, and he was standing behind a table. You could see the table, and so the backs were changed to do half and half. So I guess in order to allow reversals. The second major change is that it had these butt ugly borders on the cards. It had these very ugly green borders all the way around. And the green was not, it probably wouldn't have been as bad if the green matched some of the greens that were actually in the deck, but it did not. It was a dark olive green that completely did not match at all, and just made the deck look completely ugly. So I cut them off. I will turn this deck around. Let's see if we can make this a bit bigger. Okay. So I cut them off, and now again the artwork is just totally freed. Sorry about knocking. And it looks much, much better. So when I did that, and then I used a very small, size quarter rounder to eliminate the sharp corners. Now, when I cut them, what ended up happening is that you can see that this light sea blue border is a bit thicker on this side than on this side. It's okay. It's not, so the card wasn't completely centered. And the reason for that actually is because not only did it have this butt ugly border, but on the one side, is it the right side? Yep. So on this side, it also had keywords all running down. And again, just completely horrible. So I cut those off, and that's why this is slightly off center. But it's okay. It's actually, you know what? I don't read with the backs. I read with the fronts, and the fronts now look fabulous. I was a little worried at first in terms of whether I should round the edges or not, because the numbers for each card are on the top left and right corners, and I thought I might lose. They go right to the edge of the artwork, and I thought I might lose some of it, but I didn't actually. The small, or I guess I would have if I'd used the medium or the large, but you can see there that I have pretty much the whole X. And now they look awesome. I won't go through this again. This is a deck that has been around for a long time. I don't recall what the publication deck of this version is, but it is a low Scarabeo. It is a low Scarabeo deck, and yeah, it comes with a very small little white book, as per usual for low Scarabeo, with 6 languages, and it is a replica of a deck from 18 something. Sorry, I don't have the box or the little booklet with me to tell you exactly when it was, but I'm just finding myself very drawn to this older artwork. I don't know why. I just really love it. The Emperor, 8 of coins, Wands, Justice, Page of Cups. Okay, I won't go through these all. If anyone would like a walkthrough, let me know. And then I edged the deck so it wasn't stark white, with a sort of a goldy brown color that I thought matched both the fronts and the backs. So the front, every card has that sort of goldy brown color on it somewhere. So you can see there how well that matches. Same here. And if we look at the backs, sorry about that. I don't know why my dog is freaking out, because there's nobody at the front door. Anyway, that's it. So that was the 5th deck that I modified in the past couple of weeks, and back to your regularly scheduled programming. I'm just sharing my deck modifications. If anyone has any ideas about how to clean up this deck without making it worse, other than, as I mentioned, maybe drawing another black border on the side, please let me know. I'd be more than interested to hear that, and let me know how your deck modifications have gone. If there are any tips or tricks that you have learned that I haven't talked about in my previous video, I do have a video on YouTube on my channel about how I did some modifications, including trimming and actually rebacking as well. Oh, I was going to show, if I can reach for this without making damage, I was going to show what I used actually. I'm just going to reach over here. Okay, sorry about that. I did say I was going to show this and then forgot. Per usual. Okay. So this is my little treasure box. And this is what I use. Not the highlighter. Not sure why that's in there. I had started off using Sharpies. It's not my favorite. it's not my favorite marker to use, and I'll show you why. I did my Tarot de la Nuit with the Sharpies, and I'll just show you if I can get this button open. It doesn't last very long. You can see that that looks quite worn. Granted, I've used this deck a lot, but again, bear in mind, I've only been learning tarot for 6 months, and I probably went for a couple of months without using it. I've just pulled it out again recently. So this happened after maybe a couple of weeks of using the deck. So not terribly pleased about that. So I try to avoid that. These came from Europe, from Italy. My family there had sent a very large package with all of these colors to my kids. My kids don't do any coloring anymore, so I took them. You know, when they were very young, I didn't let them use them because they are permanent markers. And after one very bad experience of having colorful drawings all over my walls, I took those away and gave them only watercolors. So I had these, and then by the time I remembered where they were and pulled them back out, they were too old for coloring. So they work fantastic on cards. That's what I've used for all of the, that's what I've been using to edge all of my decks, actually. And they work great. So they're Bic markers. I'm not sure if they're available here in North America or not, but if you can get a hold of them, this came in a huge set. I don't even know how many there are. There's got to be 30 or 40 in here. And it's fabulous because you get to choose all kinds of colors to do things with. So that's what I use. I have not tried any of the ink pads. I think I would just I would make a huge mess, probably a much bigger mess than what I did with the Golden Dawn. Anyway, that is my latest edge decks, and let me know what you think. If, as I said, if you have a way of clearing up messes like this, let me know. I'd be more than happy to try something out. For now, this is just going to go in the naughty pile or naughty corner, and we'll get to it at some point. Anyway, have a fabulous day. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. I would appreciate it very much. And let me know what decks you have modified. I know some people don't like to trim their decks. Some people don't like to edge their decks because they feel that it is an insult to the artist. Let me know what you think. It's a curious. I'm curious. Personally, my personal feelings on that are that these decks are mine. I've paid for them, and I can do with them as I wish. And if it is a difference between using a deck and not using a deck, then darn right, I will edge it or trim it if I need to. This one I will not trim. It is a very large deck. I will not trim. I've just been shuffling it sort of lengthwise. But yep, so that's my feelings on that. Let me know what you think, and until next time, my friends, tell your truth.